The dominoes are falling, ladies and gentlemen. Tyler and Greer here with no cap space, and we have yet another head coaching hire. The Seattle Storm have made their decision, and they're going to make a decision that I'm frankly pretty excited about. Greer, I think you're pretty excited about it as well. Sonia Ramen, the assistant coach from the New York Liberty, former assistant with the Memphis Grizzlies as well, along with a longtime head coach of MIT in the women's basketball ranks. Before we get into it, of course, no cap 15 on home field. It's college time. There's so much WNBA news. We talk a whole lot of WNBA stuff, but college is literally like just over a week away. We're getting there. We're getting there. So make sure you're tapping in with home field. Again, this is a name that has been thrown around. Frankly, kind of expected to see her going to New York. If I'm being honest, like that was where, if I was projecting out and I was like doing this pre-whole dominoes and everything falling, like that is where I would have pegged her to go. If you're saying she's getting a head coaching job, where's it going to be? I thought she'd be staying put. And instead, Greer, she's heading to your Seattle Storm. General vibe check. How are we feeling?
I'm feeling pretty good about it. This is a person with extensive women's basketball head coaching experience.
Mm-hmm.
MIT, like I get it, not D1 or anything like that. But when we talk about being able to relate to players, building relationships, right? I know that she at least understands like the temperature of the room.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? This is also a franchise who, is run by women.
Mm-hmm.
And I am happy that like we see what is happening in terms of like trends with head coaching hires, even this cycle. And you think about last year too, and how many went to how many jobs went to men. And like, obviously you can be qualified and be a man or a woman, but just in terms of trends, I am happy to see the Seattle Storm continue to just like bet on women and believe in women and their abilities to lead franchises. So I'm super excited, and I definitely think the Seattle Storm got somebody whose experience is incredibly rich.
Yeah. I mean, I heard nothing but good things dating back to with Memphis from 2020 to 2024. And I remember hearing plenty of really complimentary things from the NBA angle. And obviously there was a staff change entirely in Memphis. Head coach gets fired and everything. Then she comes to the WNBA side in that way. And to me personally, like when obviously we just had Fernandez going to Dallas, and obviously there's a lot of experience there. I mean, it was 25 years or whatever at USF it would coach in women's basketball, and I don't take that for granted. But I also really value having a year in the WNBA before becoming a head coach in the WNBA. And even though it is only 1 year, you still went to a franchise that obviously New York didn't perform at the expectation, but there was a lot of factors that went into that. But you go to an organization that has winning players, that had just won a championship. Like there's so many good habits to build on with that, in a way where I just have a level of confidence in this. And I also think it's a hire that I love the balance of the hire, in the sense of, if you go and re-sign your vets and win now, I don't think that this is a hire that is saying, hey, we're going to tank, by any means of that, by at all. But also, if you are just pivoting into the Dominique Malonga era, I don't think that this is a hire that you can't do that with. And so I personally love the flexibility in that way. And so I'm just, to me, it almost opens up more questions, but not in a bad way, in terms of like where Seattle is going. Because I frankly thought we might be able to get more of a sense of where Seattle might be going based on the hire. Like if it's Sandy Brondello, I'm assuming the vets are coming back. If it's, maybe one of the former players that are high on assistant coaching levels and on staffs right now, Christy Tolliver, Brianna January, that maybe it's their first time head coaching, I might think we're going more the Malonga route and taking the lumps and building. To me, I don't know where this kind of puts the Storm in, but that's not a bad thing to me by any means of that. Where do you see this hire in that way? Is it more of a win now, like where they run it back with the vets, or are you thinking that we're pivoting into the Dominique Malonga era full sharp right here?
Oh no, I think it's the former. I think it's continuing with the vets. Again, this is a team who defensively have been, since acquiring NECA and Skylar, have been tip top when it comes to defense. It's the offense, especially late game, that has been abysmal. And so I think if you're making the Ramen hire, you're saying like, we got a lot more juice that we can squeeze from this current crop of players. So yeah, I think it's more about maximizing what is left of Skylar and Nneka, but also recognizing that like Dominique Malonga is just going to be a force to be reckoned with. And like she was 19, she'll be 20 next year. We've also seen young bigs win in this league.
Sure, 100%. Yeah.
We've seen that. So and in Seattle, might I add, quite a couple of times.
A couple times.
Two different eras. So I feel like this hire is like bridging the gap and saying like, no, we still want to contend for a championship and we have the defense to do it. Our offense in late game is what needed help, and that is essentially like what we're hiring her to do.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. When you look at what she was brought in to do at previous stops, right? With Memphis, heavy focus on player development. And when you go to the New York hire, I literally have the exact quote from Sandy Brondello here from when she was hired, like the PR statement that they put out whenever she came. Specializing in the offensive side of the ball, she brings a wealth of experience to our staff and aligns with our core principles of play as we continue to evolve. Player development, specializing in offense, feels like exactly what the Seattle Storm are looking for. And again, you do it with a coach that has been a head coach before, has again seen multiple styles of play. I'm so intrigued, honestly, personally. Just I don't know what, because like when you look at the Memphis Grizzlies style of that era offensively, and then like what New York was doing, is not really. I don't see a ton of crossover in that. It's very different. I don't see a ton of
crossover, but I definitely see a ton of improvement in the players.
There we go. I think that's
about a Triple J, a player like Triple J. And Jaren Jackson Jr., who's also the son of Terry Jackson, which is funny, but 1,000% improved. So much so that he was able to get a max contract, his contract extension, right? And then even going back to last year, and like WNBA is different because we know that like player development is maybe harder or like a bit
not
more
much room for it.
Yeah, because of players are going overseas and they're playing in different places. But when I think of two players in particular last year it's crazy saying last year already, but for the New York Liberty, right? I think of Kennedy Burke and I think of Leonie Fibich, who before the injuries this past season was definitely hooping at a level that she had never hooped at before. And so you can point to two like very good cases of like, oh, these players with more investment certainly got better from the championship winning year to this year.
Yeah. And you had brought it up pre-show and you're kind of looking at some of the stats, and from the championship season where Ramen was not on the coaching staff to this past season, just obviously 1 year with New York, but the offensive rating went from first in championship year to a very tight second through fourth group, but fourth in that. But to me, and you mentioned it pre-show, the injuries that New York faced over the course, and the defense also getting worse, like within that as well. Like obviously they were not a championship team. I mean, they got eliminated first round for a reason, but there was so much different things going on. And we frankly, obviously, we don't know exactly how much of what we saw offensively was Ramen is being like, hey, this is our game. This is so like, this is her. And this, like what you're seeing with the New York Liberty is her and what she is coaching up here. Obviously, we don't know that. So it's going to be very interesting for me to see what pieces of that New York stuff seems familiar when we see it in Seattle versus what seems brand new. And to me, I mean, the usage of Dominique Malonga is going to be so incredibly interesting to me just this year. And obviously, that was kind of the one of the biggest talking points. I mean, there was several, frankly, with the Storm, just in terms of the coaching decisions and the play and things of that nature.
I had a lot going on.
Yeah, there's been a lot going on in Seattle. But ultimately, to me, one of the biggest things was the trajectory of Dominique Malonga's season and the minutes played and the success just generally in production on the court, things of that nature. I'm so intrigued by what we see Dominique work on in the season, like what we're actively seeing her being asked to do, assuming that she's playing. Lord knows what's going on with her and Fenner and everything. Like, that's a whole different thing. But like, just under the assumption that everything's fine with that, like I'm just very intrigued by what workload and responsibility Malonga is given. Because I mean, we saw it towards the end of the season. I mean, I feel increasingly comfortable giving that to her, even if you are still contending, like and trying to win now. Like I don't. These two things don't have to be separate. And that's what's made Malonga so special, is that you can contend, to your point, Greer, with a young big, and we've seen it in the W, and I don't think that that's any different now. I think you can still do that with Malonga on top of bringing your vets back. I'll tell you right now, just looking a little bit bigger pictures again, as these dominoes continue to fall, I don't know what WNBA candidate is there now for the New York Liberty. Like, and obviously, I mean, one more domino to fall here, right? And so, again, this seemed like the easy hire for them to make, but to me, and I don't have any names particular in mind with this, but it feels like increasingly they're going to go the international NBA route. Obviously, you still have some of the former players available, in like, Chrissy Tolliver, Brianna January have been kind of the names that we've really been thinking about in terms of former players that are currently on WNBA staffs as associate head coaches, things of that nature, to go in and do that. But man, I can't help but feel like that is where we're ending up again, as I just see them going the NBA route. Where are you in that sense, now that we know that this isn't the road that the New York Liberty are going for? As we know, she did interview for them. We don't know.
I also find interesting, right? I also find interesting that, and we don't know, but like, that's interesting. You know what I mean?
Like, if she interviewed, like, you've had her here for a whole season, and then you interview her, like, you know what you're getting to a certain, like, better than anyone else in the WNBA what she is going to be as a head coach. And I don't know.
I don't know. Something feels weird to me about the New York Liberty. I don't know.
I'm kind of with you.
Something feels weird. I don't know. Like, Sabrina's at Chase Center. Like, something feels weird. I can't quite put a finger on it, but like firing Sandy, obviously, then all of the aftermath with the GM's quotes, right? Post separating of the way, parting of the ways. We talked about the possibility of Stewie testing free agency this offseason when we do have a CBA and things like that. They got one, right? They were the last like original franchise to not have one. They got one. And you could argue that the subsequent moves are very that's interesting.
Yeah. The next, like, I mean, this head coaching hire, and we heard it from the GM, have to knock this out of the park. You do. I mean, this is a pivotal moment in a whole lot of ways for franchises in the WNBA. You just got a whole bunch of investment as well. Those events, you want to keep winning with that level of investment that you just got.
In his third head coach hire, and remember, the Walt Hopkins hire ended in a disaster.
Yeah,
dismissed during the season. Sandy Brondello coached this team for 3 years, took them to the finals twice, and still didn't survive.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
It's interesting, and I truly think that this hire, whatever it is for New York, is going to tell us a whole lot, one way or another. And again, it doesn't, the indication of everything that's been said doesn't give off, hey, we're going to go hire a first-time head coach. Like, it from the, like, it doesn't, that from the W especially. And like, I have not gotten that vibe. I think my best, if I was like putting money on it, which Lord knows, don't do that right now. Block is hot. But my guess would honestly probably be international NBA W. Like that's like in my head right now, like where the coach would come from. And the international NBA is pretty interchangeable. I don't sense it coming from the W right now, and kind of sucks. But I mean, that's ultimately like where we're at in these coaching cycles and everything. But ultimately, Seattle, I'm very excited about this hire. I mean, again, just a coach that has been a head coach for a long time, generally speaking, before, went and truly gained respect at the NBA level. It seemingly the same at the W. Obviously, didn't have as much time to really kind of gain, like to build a relationship super heavily and everything in the same way that she was able to in Memphis. But by every indication of what we heard when she was with the Grizzlies and players talking about her and other staff members, I've heard nothing, just publicly in the media, not like I have any source here, but like it's been nothing but good things from her. And I'm excited. I'm excited about this, and that's ultimately all you can ask for from a hire where you're on paper, like just before the season. To me, this has good vibes compared to some of the other hires. This is good vibes to me.
Yeah, I feel like the Storm are getting somebody who has a real philosophy about basketball, not necessarily a system, but a philosophy. I think they are different things. And like to your point about her coaching tenure, I think a real variety and experiences too is incredibly important, and she has that. And I'm excited. I'm looking forward to it. Again, the Storm are one of the more talented teams in this league. Like they got 2 for sure Hall of Famers, and then some other players who feel like they could be on that trajectory, right? So, and a team again who has disappointed in the last couple of seasons, even though the talent was there. So, Sonia, you're inheriting a great situation.
Yeah.
Practice facility, resources, an incredible fan base who is, again, like West Coast bias, and I'm also a Seattle Storm fan.
Yeah, but, there's a couple degrees of bias.
I have been to CPA each of the last 3 seasons, and I would argue one of the most loyal and rabid fan bases in all of the WNBA. And so I'm almost certain that like the city of Seattle is going to react incredibly favorably to the hire. And yeah, I'm looking forward to my trek next year.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm right there with you. Again, this is, I think you can pretty easily make the argument this is the best situation that was available to enter into. Like New York again has it's just a little weird. Like obviously there's talent, there's the fan, like New York is right there as well. But like I'm interested by the trajectory. I don't know like in terms of rebuild versus all in, like, and where this stands. I don't think there's a wrong answer with this in comparison to some of my feelings about like the Sparks kind of dividing timeline, stuff like that. It doesn't feel like this here. And I think that's a very good and exciting thing to be able to have. So I'm looking forward to Seattle Storm basketball. They have a lot going on always, but right now, the thing that's going on today feels like a good thing for the Seattle Storm. And they haven't always been able to say that recently. So get this law. Look, I will represent my client, Dominique Malonga, if I need to. I need to see these hoops. And I'm very, very excited for it. But I'm also very excited, Greer, for NCAA basketball. We're about to be locked in with that. Of course, CBA talk, WNBA hires, all these things.
We'll probably run into her this season too.
Yeah.
At different college games and things like that. So
yeah, I saw plenty of different coaches and assistants and whatnot all over the travels and boots on the ground last year. So make sure you're tapped in here with us so you know where the people are looking, where the people are at. We got you covered. Make sure you're tapped in here on the YouTube. Like, subscribe, share. Let us know what you think of this hire. How does it rank compared to the other hires here that we've seen in this WNBA coaching cycle? And of course, nocapspacewbe.com to find all of our podcast and print content. You can subscribe for free or become a ball knower and join the Discord, whether that's through being a YouTube member or getting additional content on the website. That's a mouthful. But until next time, everyone, we'll talk soon.